Well, I am so happy to be joined today by the great Joe Thomas. How you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on the show, MK.
Yeah. Hey, it just occurred to me. I remember the day that you retired, and I looked ahead and I was thinking, geez, 5 years from now, I'm going to have the opportunity to vote for Joe Thomas to be in the Hall of Fame. And it seemed like it was so far out and it was going to be, so far down the road. It seems like it came so fast, didn't it?
It did. Honestly, it feels like it was just yesterday that I announced my retirement and stepped away. And I think in my head, I'm closing my eyes and I still get those dreams occasionally that I'm like late for practice and I need to like quick get there and put my shoes on and get ready to get out on the field because my team needs me. But I guess that's just the way the world works. Like the days they crawl by and the years they fly by. And that's certainly been the case since I've retired and now I'm eligible for the Hall of Fame.
And how does it feel? I mean, I remember standing right in front of you that very day when you were a rookie, and asking you about your goals and dreams.
Mhm.
And and what did you tell us that day?
I said, I want to be in the Hall of Fame. And I remember thinking like, yeah, shouldn't every player that plays this game that's a rookie dream of someday being great enough to be in the Hall of Fame? But there was a few people that were surprised that I would make such a bold claim. And it feels good to sit here and say, you know what? I wasn't too far off. Not yet, at least.
There was really no doubt in their mind, was in your mind, was there?
No, I was really serious. I mean, I had goals in mind and I had short-term goals and I had medium and then I had long-term goals. And my short-term goal was, hey, I just want to be a starter. And I think everybody probably that was listening was like, well, no, duh, you're going to be a starter. Probably like tomorrow, you're the third overall pick as an offensive lineman. Of course, you're going to be a starter no matter what you do. Like your draft position means you're going to be a starter. But in my head, it was like, that was the first step in the process. And I wanted everything to kind of be step-by-step approach. I want to be a starter, want to be a good starter that's reliable, want to make the Pro Bowl. And then if I do that enough times, like my dream is to be in the Hall of Fame. And I feel like that's a realistic goal. And in my head, it was just as easy as becoming a starter, right? Because it's just that step-by-step process, just one day at a time. But now that I look back on it and I appreciate how challenging things were along the way, it may have been a big goal, but I'm happy that I had big dreams at that time.
What would you want someone to say about you if they were trying to tell a room full of 49 voters about you? What would you want them to know?
If there was only one sentence that you had to say, I would hope you would say for 10,363 consecutive plays over 10 and a half seasons, Joe Thomas showed up the best version of himself for his teammates to give them and his team the best chance to win. And if you only get one sentence, I hope that's what you can leave them with. Yeah, it's crazy sitting on this side of being a player now and being mostly a fan with memories of my playing days, because Browns fans probably have dealt with the exact same feelings that I did when I was a player, because you are so invested in the team emotionally, financially, physically, and you build this image in your head up over and over again of this is how we win. This is the route we're going to be able to take. And you convince yourself that you're going to do it this year. Like, this is our year, right? I love the movie Major League Two. Like, even before I moved to Cleveland and got drafted by the Browns, I love that, right? I love that, the fans' perspective. And I think it really gives a good window into the mind of a fan that at the beginning of the season, you always build up why this is our year, because that gives you a buy-in and then you become invested and you become excited. And that's why you show up and you watch the games. And as a player, you do the same thing. Like, for 20 consecutive starting quarterbacks in my mind, I had convinced myself this was the dude. Like, he may not be what everybody thinks is going to be a franchise quarterback, and the national people who don't know anything don't believe he can do it, but this is what I've seen in practice. This is the offense we're running. This is why he can do it well. And you do those things because subconsciously, that's what it takes to be able to get the most out of yourself. You have to believe that this is a championship roster, that I need to be in championship form because my team's depending on me. And if you don't do that, you're not going to get the most out of yourself, whether it be the offseason or training camp or during a game when it gets hard. So for 10 years, that's what I had done. And in year 10, going into the Patriots game, I hate the Patriots. They always kick my ass. I hate Belichick, hate Brady, everything about them, right? Despise them. They had beaten us a couple years before. We were in Foxborough. You'll remember this game. We were up by like 2 scores with just a few minutes left in the game. The game was over. And of course, Brady goes right down the field, scores a touchdown, gets a 2-point conversion, onside kick, goes down, touchdown, 2-point conversion, win the game, and like completely shattered my soul. So this was revenge for me. And going into the game, I thought we had a great game plan running the football. I thought watching them on film, the scheme we had was going to be able to take advantage of what they don't do very well. And we didn't have great quarterback play or great offense that season. We won 1-15, so that's obvious. But in my mind, I built it up that we were going to find a way to beat Bill Belichick and it was going to be so sweet. And turns out we didn't. We actually were horrible. And they played a defense that we'd never seen before. Classic Belichick moment. They played a 6-1 instead of their normal defense. And so their mismatch turned out to be in their favor when they switched what they did on defense. We got no double teams up front. We couldn't take advantage of our running game. We ran the ball for like 30 yards and we lost like 30-7. And it was devastating to me mentally because I had built it up where if I play well and we go out and do what we're supposed to, what we've practiced, we'll win. And I played a perfect game. There was literally no plays I would want back. And as an offensive lineman, that doesn't happen very often. Like I made it 4 or 5 Pro Bowls before I played a perfect game. Like it just doesn't happen. It's really hard to have eyes, hands, and feet in perfect position against another NFL player for 70 plays in a row. It's like very difficult. And so in this game, I played perfect and we still got our butts kicked. And I think the emotional understanding and realization that what I do has impact, but not a big impact positively. It can have a big impact negatively as an offensive lineman, but positively, I can't influence the game like a quarterback or somebody that touches the football, or even somebody on defense who can make huge plays and change the course of the game on defense. Like I have a small bit part and I can be consistent and I can be great. And that helps my team, but it can hurt my team way more than it can help it. And I think riding home with Annie and feeling hopeless and helpless in the midst of a season that was, at that point, we hadn't won any games. And I had a knee that was falling apart, that every week I was getting it drained on Monday and injected during the week. I couldn't even stand at practice. I couldn't even kneel at practice. My knee was so bad. I would literally just lay in the training room. I would either crutch or just drag my leg down the hall. Like it was right out of surgery the whole week. And then on Sunday morning, I would shoot it up and wrap it up and go out and play ball. I couldn't do any cardio because the bike would swell up my knee so much. So I would just swim. That's how I got into swimming. And so I felt like I was putting forth this enormous effort that was straining my body physically and now mentally. And I was getting nothing to show for it. And I think that was the moment where I broke down in the car and I just started crying. And Annie was like, "Are you okay? Did you have a bad game?" I'm like, "No, I was perfect." And it still didn't matter. And she was like, "You should talk to somebody." And that's when I started reaching out to the Browns, and they were awesome. They've got in-house psychologists that are just willing to talk to you, and being able to talk with that person was all it took. Just a few sessions, just being able to open up and let them understand where I was coming from and give me a few strategies to kind of cope with that anxiety and the helpless feeling was really powerful for me. And that's all it took. And then I was able to finish the season, played really well the rest of the season. And I was able to like still focus on my job and trying to be perfect without allowing that to snowball into a hopeless feeling. And I think that's why it's really cool. And I think it's really good for all athletes right now that people are willing to talk about the mental health side of it. And it's not taboo anymore, because a lot of times, like in my situation, it's not about any great solution that's some pie in the sky. Like sometimes it's just talking to somebody, and maybe that's your wife, maybe that's a girlfriend, maybe that's just a psychologist, but it's okay to say that I'm not okay. And it's amazing when you just say that and you talk to somebody, you feel better about it. And you're able to get over that hurdle. You're able to find a way around that obstacle. And I think it's making today's athletes better for it.
And you know what, Joe? I think about